I married a psychopath in a cult because a prophet told me to, and this is the story of how I finally deconstructed everything that I went through. Here's where we left off. Ted had assaulted me after the Disney World burger incident, and then I had finally decided that I was done and that I wanted to get a divorce because I didn't want to gamble with my life anymore. So we went to Atlanta, we filed, my dad helped me file for divorce, and you guys, the timing of this is insane. Like, I could cry about like how everything just happened to work out. It really feels like God just had my back, because I ended up filing, and I kid you not, 4 or 5 days later, the entire country shut down for COVID. And because of the fact that COVID was going on, I was able to get divorced over a Zoom call. So straight up, I never had to see this man ever again. I did not have to attend court. We had our cameras off on our Zoom call, and we were able to get divorced in July. So it was very quick. So now I am back in Texas trying to figure out what I am going to do with my life. So for my personal safety, I'm not going to talk about what my career is really, but I do have a career that I was able to build. I was able to find a job fairly quickly and just start working, and I've been able to get a certification through that job, and thank God I have been able to build a life for myself and gain a lot of independence. But during this time, you know, I'm living with my parents, I'm back home with my sisters. I know I had said that some people in my life did not respond the best, like they were trying to figure out if I had a biblical right to get divorced. But once I made the decision, everybody was supportive, and my sisters are amazing, and they were supportive from the very beginning. They were not one of the people who was trying to see if the scripture said I could get divorced. Here is where Juby in her trauma brain made some decisions that a therapist might be like, hey, let's not do that right now. But I don't regret it at all because it led me to my husband. If you've seen my posts about him, I am just like absolutely obsessed with my husband, and I credit him for why I am able to still have a relationship with God, because I think that I just would not have been able to maintain that after everything that I'd been through if it wasn't for my husband. So I ended up getting on Bumble, and I was just feeling sad and lonely, and I was like, let's just see who's out there, you know, because I haven't dated since I was 20 years old. I'm 25 now, and I'm just curious. So I wasn't like necessarily thinking that I was actually going to meet up with anyone. I was just thinking like, well, let's just see, right? So I start talking to a few people, and yeah, it was fine. You know, there were a few people that I was kind of interested in, and one of them was my husband, Brandon, and we just hit it off right away. We both love Alamo Drafthouse, so we were talking about how we always go there, and we still go there today. We have like season passes, and we just had a lot of things in common, and he seemed like a genuinely good, empathetic person. So he ended up asking me if I wanted to go out. And actually, let me back up. I had deleted the app, and I had texted him and was like, or messaged him and said, I'm really sorry, but I'm not ready to date. Like, I started spinning, and I felt bad for wasting his time. And I was like, actually, I shouldn't be on this app. I'm going to get off. Like, I'm not ready to date. And he was like, oh, that's totally fine. And I said, you know, can I give you my Instagram? Because you just seem so nice. And he was just the sweetest person, so I did not want to ghost him. So I ended up giving him my Instagram. We continued to talk on there, and then after a while he was like, well, what if we just went to coffee? Like, what if we just went low pressure? It doesn't have to be a date, and we'll just see how it goes. So I agreed to go, and I was nervous, guys, when I pulled up to this coffee place. It was local coffee in Texas, and I was sitting in my car being like, what the heck am I doing? Why am I about to go see this guy? And okay, Bran is like exactly my type. Like, I think my husband is like the hottest person on the planet. And I was like, okay, I'm just like nervous and excited to go and see this guy, and hopefully it goes okay, but like I'm definitely not ready to date, so I don't even know what I'm doing. So I walk in, and we just hit it off, guys. Like, I don't even know how to describe it. We ended up sitting down, and we talked for a couple hours at the coffee place, and then he said, do you want to go for a walk? And we ended up going for a walk for like 5 hours or something, and then after that we went to Whataburger. Our entire date was probably like 9 hours long, and we were just talking about all of our feelings. And I'm gonna be so straight with you guys, pretty much everything you have heard in this series I just trauma dumped on Bran, and I literally, guys, it was so bad. Okay, God bless this man for loving me so much. But we were sitting near a bridge, so on our walk we took a break and we're like sitting near this bridge, and I forgot to say this part in the series, but I started telling him about how, like, with my ex, I had gone on a cruise and I was genuinely afraid that he was going to throw me overboard the entire cruise. And I don't know, I just started crying about like the traumatic things that I had been through and how afraid I was that he was constantly going to unalive me. And Bran like put his arm around me and he held me while I cried, and this is like our first date, so I guess I don't do small talk. And I want to share more about our relationship in the future, like what it is like to be in a healthy relationship after being in an abusive one, and just the early days, the triggers, like how to work through those sorts of things with a partner. So I want to talk about all of that, but right now I want to talk about the moment that I realized that I was in a cult. So Bran and we were sitting outside on a picnic table, and I was like laying on the picnic table, I think, and I was staring at the sky, and I just started telling him, yeah, some crazy things happened at Bethel. Like, I don't know how to describe it. I said it wasn't like a normal church, and he was like, what do you mean? So I started to tell him a couple crazy things, and then I realized, oh my gosh, I sound insane. Like, I'm telling him about the fire tunnels and the manifestations and the prophecy that made me get married and the speaking in tongues and feeling the pressure to do it. And the whole time I'm like, are you judging me? Like, do you think I'm crazy? Because my husband comes from a Catholic background, so this is like all new to him. He has never heard of this ever. And hearing myself say these things out loud really led me down a path. So follow for the next part.